Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, the podcast that's been called a working man's Nerdist by Anthony Vondesauer of the Curse of Silver Lake podcast. It's an RPG podcast that I definitely think you guys should check out. It is not an actual play, but it's more of a scripted show, so definitely give them a listen. I wanted to talk to you just very briefly that we are in the month of June. And with that, tomorrow's episode is our anniversary episode, and I am thrilled for you guys to get to listen to it. The first 5 guests that I had on last year have returned, and we get to catch up with them and find out what's been going on with them. Another note is that I have started a Patreon site. It's patreon.com/talesfromthefandom. And if you have a little bit extra to maybe help out with hosting fees, or if you're interested in seeing the Tales from the Fandom podcast expand or do some more projects, this is definitely something that would be awesome. I mean, reviews, listens, downloads, shares are incredible. There is just a little bit of a hosting fee that I cover each month. And with some new podcast projects on the way, I am hopeful that maybe if you guys are interested in listening and would like to support us, it would be greatly appreciated. So that is patreon.com/talesfromthefandom. And now enjoy the episode with Lars, but you can call her Blue or Blue Shoes Cosplay. Have a great day. Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, the podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. Today's guest is Lars, but she is best known as Blue Shoes Cosplay, and she lives probably about 20 minutes from our house here in Orlando, which is pretty cool. I love having Central Florida people on the podcast. She is a Central Florida cosplayer. She's a jack of all trades. She can pretty much do anything, including special effects makeup, handmade lace, bad karaoke. She is there for any challenge. She has been doing cosplaying and performing for about 6 years, and she is easily bored, so she likes to try out new hobbies every 6 months or so. As a result, she's always happy to hand along a bit of extra knowledge. Need to know how to hand tat lace? Call her. Want to learn fencing? She knows where to go. Need a wig dyed? Just call Blue. Welcome to Tales from the Fandom.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I am wide awake. I just chugged a can of V8 energy drink.
V8 Energy? They make a V8 Energy drink?
Oh, yeah. It's great stuff.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. Like, I'm familiar with, like, Monster and Red Bull and Starbucks, but V8, I just remember, like, the nasty taste of drinking it.
Oh, no, these are really good. They're, like, super fruity. I can't drink Monster because it makes my heart hurt, so.
Oh, yeah.
These are a little calmer.
Yeah, the Monsters used to tear up my stomach. It was like, what is in them? And why am I drinking it?
Actual monsters. Actual monsters are in them. Taurine, not a chemical. Name of a monster.
Exactly. You'd find it in, like, a monster manual somewhere or some, like, H.P. Lovecraft book.
Yes, precisely. Pretty
Awesome.
sure we've done battle in D&D before.
There you go. So, welcome to the podcast. I'm pleased to have found another local Central Florida person to have on here, so I'm pleased as punch.
Yay! Yeah, it's kind of cool when you find another person in your neighborhood.
Right. It is cool. It's like, what? There's more people that exist. I mean, I might see people at MegaCon of the 100,000 people that are there, but it's nice to find people.
Ooh, we got to start getting you out to some of the smaller cons then. Ooh.
That's right. Now, we normally get started with finding out what fandoms you are into. So, what fandoms are you into?
I mean, I don't really consider myself part of a fandom formally, not to be too hipster about it or anything like that. But I'm really into Invincible. I've been struggling for years to get other people besides just my husband into Invincible because I am dying for someone to cosplay Invincible with my Adam East costume.
That is awesome. I think I picked up Invincible. My friend was a big Image Comics person, and he used to read Savage Dragon all the time, but he used to pick up Invincible. And I got into it, and lo and behold, I thought it was amazing and wonderful, and I read it regularly for a good time, but I have to admit, I stopped reading comics when I moved to Japan, and that was it.
Yeah, I stopped. I'm not going to lie, I'm the same. I stopped reading comics, or at least keeping up with them on a regular basis when I moved to Florida, just because I had my little comic shop that I went to and frequented, once a month and picked up my stash. Mm-hmm. And then when I moved, I'm like, okay, number one, lots more comic book shops in this area than there are in Houston. There's like 2 in Houston. There's like 5 within driving distance of my house.
Right.
And I don't mean an uncomfortable driving distance. I mean 20 minutes. So that is amazing to me. That blew my mind when I moved here. I was like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by nerds. This is great. But because of that, I never sat down and figured out which one I wanted to frequent or anything like that. Did the adult thing where I'm like, oh, I'm working full time. I'm too busy. I can't keep up with this. And then I just didn't keep up with it. So I binge read once a year now.
Like that's the thing I'm thinking of is back in high school or even college, you're not really thinking about how much money you're spending. But then as you're thinking about it, it's like I'm paying nearly, I don't even know what price comics go for nowadays. I imagine it's between $4 and $5 an issue. But
yeah, like at least $3 a pop.
But that's like a half an hour of work during like if you're working 40 hours a week, that's like a half hour, and you're like, but you're not just going to buy that one comic. You're going to go in there and buy 20 or 30 comics.
You got a whole subscription box because
exactly.
Comics are just paper crack.
They are. That's why I wait for the trade paperbacks to come out, because at least they're a little bit easier to shelve and display and read and not get lost or have to manage.
This just makes me feel like Free Comic Book Day is like the gateway drug. Free Comic Book Day is the marijuana of hobbies.
Oh man, my kids love Free Comic Book Day. Last year, because I have 3 of them, and they all try to get the maximum free comics that they're allowed at our comic store.
Of course.
And I'm like, okay, guys, you really need to read them, not just look at the pictures occasionally. But I think they're almost to that point now. I think they're right on that cusp of like being interested, and I'm really looking forward to getting them into at least like 1 or 2 comics.
Yeah.
It'll probably be My Little Pony and something else at some point.
I've always heard good things about the My Little Pony comics.
I have too.
I don't know if it's necessarily what's the word I'm looking for? Appropriate for children, but especially young children. But one of my favorite comic book series that I swear by to this day was the Runaways. And I was
oh man, I love the Runaways.
So good. Yes, anybody who likes Invincible will like Runaways and vice versa.
Now, I'm going to circle back to the Runaways because I very rarely find people that even know about it at this point. But how did you find Invincible? How did that comic get you, or you get that comic?
I'm trying to think. I can't remember. It's like one of those chicken and egg scenarios, because I started reading it right around the same time I got married, and I can't remember if my husband introduced it to me or if I introduced it to him.
Bum, bum, bum.
I don't know, but somebody teased it to me as it's like if Superman had a kid and then it turned out that Superman was the villain all along.
Right.
And at this time, I was like reading anything where Alex Ross had done the artwork, and a lot of stuff where Alex Ross has done artwork for. They're all these really super dystopian, heroes are the bad guys kind of stories. Mm-hmm. So I was just on that train, hardcore. Ended up getting into Invincible. Absolutely loved it. I got through the first trade back.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm gonna go buy all of them. That was a problem.
Is it really?
But I mean, Well, they're heavy and they're hard to move.
Well, that's why you have a husband.
That's true. But I did the same thing with the Runaways, where I'm like, I need to read every single issue of this. This is perfect. This is exactly the story I've always wanted to read. So, I was really, really into that kick for a while.
Yeah, I remember reading it and just being so enthralled with just the actual, like, the characters, because the characters were real. They weren't, you get those characters, whether it's Marvel or DC, where it's like, really, like, they do not act their age. They don't act like that they've got stuff going on at school or at the house or dating and everything else. But this one felt very grounded, very, like, you could totally relate to somebody in that comic book, whether it was Mark, who's the main character, or you could relate to Eve or any of the other characters, even the robot, like, on that teen team.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I was fascinated with Duplicate and Multipole. Number one, great names. Just really great names. But later on in the series, you get some teasers about, like, how they handle their clone situation and stuff like that, which I always thought it was really interesting. I'm trying to remember Robot Kid's name now. It's really bugging me.
Uh-oh.
Was it Rex?
Let me see. There was Rexplode.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know if that...
Right. Robot Kid, like, cloned himself into Rex's body or something like that. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I mean, I think the last time I picked up an Invincible comic, what might have been, like, 2007, 2006, somewhere around there. But, I mean, I always have fond memories. It's one of those things where when I saw that you were into the fandom, or at least the comic book, I was like, I gotta talk to somebody about that, because I only know one other person that's read the comic.
Same.
Out of everyone that I know. It's like one person.
Same. Monster Girl. That's, okay, not somebody we were talking about, but that was always my favorite character. Just gonna throw that one in there at the last second. Monster Girl was legit.
Now, I think it's still going on, because I just read that Robert Kirkman has said it's going to end at the end of the year, I believe.
Yes, it is still ongoing, but the end is nigh. So, like, now is the perfect time to actually, like, read through all those back issues and get caught up.
Yes, it's only been running since 2003, so you've only got 14 years of back issues to go.
Yeah, but they'll go fast.
They do go fast, especially if you pick up the trades, and then you can, leave them on a park bench for someone else to maybe find and get into, or, not do that and keep them on your bookshelf.
Or if you want to leave them somewhere slightly nicer than a park bench, but somewhere slightly less nice than your bookshelf, the dog park down by... There's a dog park with a free library in it. Baldwin Park.
Okay.
Yep, Baldwin Park Dog Park has a free library in it where you can drop off your used and unwanted books. They also now have a dog toy library where if you're getting rid of dog toys, you can leave them there for the other dogs to play with.
Well, that's cool. That's nice for the dogs.
It's extremely nice. I love dogs.
That is awesome. Now, and you said you cosplay as Adam Eve?
I do.
That's cool.
That was one of the first, like, major costume undertakings that I did. Very, very first cosplay ever was just a Halloween costume, but basically everybody's first cosplay is a Halloween costume. The next one I really tried on was Power Girl, but then shortly after that, I'm like, I have to be Adam Eve. I'm so into Invincible. I need to start exposing people to it the only way I know how. So I forced myself to figure out how to make gloves that were attached to the leotard, which was not a smart idea because that is the least convenient costume to wear.
Now, when you went to cons wearing the Adam Eve costume, were you recognized as Adam Eve or as a different character?
Mostly people just didn't know who I was. Nobody really mistook me for anyone else, which was kind of nice. I mean, there's long red-haired characters in comic books are a dime a dozen. But
right.
nobody really mistook me for anyone else, which was kind of nice. I only got recognized a handful of times, but it was really gratifying when someone did, because then we would, sit and shoot the breeze about Invincible for 5-10 minutes.
Exactly, and that's always nice to do, is be able to find somebody that knows
Yes.
what you're, who you are.
Yes! I'm like, oh my god, you know who I am, thank you, I love you. I don't know you, but I love you now.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is definitely, right up there, top tier with when somebody recognizes me in that costume, I feel really, really good about it.
So, and Invincible is done, and if people are listening and they have no clue, Invincible is done by the same person that does The Walking Dead, right? Yeah, Kirkman. He does Walking Dead.
I have no idea. I'm not a Walking Dead person.
Womp womp womp.
Womp
Yes,
womp.
he is the
TV
creator.
show, that's it.
Yes, he is the creator of The Walking Dead. So, if you'd like to see something that might be less filled with zombies, Invincible.
Well, slightly less filled with zombies. Let's not go crazy here.
Exactly. Yes. Now I need to go into my garage and find my comic book boxes that have been in storage since we moved here in 2011 and start finding my Invincible comics.
What's funny is, as you said that, I am standing in my library looking at mine, just observing them in their glory.
In their glory, because you have spots to display them.
An entire wall of our guest bedroom is a bookshelf, and the top of that bookshelf is all comic books.
That is a good thing. At least you provide reading material for your guests.
Oh, there is ample reading material in here. Not all of it is good.
Oh my goodness. So you're into Invincible. But when I was reading your recommendations for something, you mentioned that you have a favorite podcast in the world, and I've never heard of it, and I didn't even bother looking it up before we started recording. But it is called Last Podcast on the Left.
I wish you could see the face I'm making right now. It's pretty ecstatic.
You're probably making
It's
what is Last Podcast on the Left?
So Last Podcast on the Left is essentially a horror podcast run by 3 comedians. Well, 2 comedians for sure. I don't know if the last guy actually considers himself a comedian or if he just considers himself a radio personality. Not important. What is important is they go over things like conspiracy theories and war stories and serial killers and alien abductions and ghost stories and all this other good shenanigans. It's very well and thoroughly researched, but also hilarious. I don't really recommend the first 100 episodes or so. That's before they really started hitting their stride and figuring out what they were doing. But once they start getting into their big hitter multi-part series, it gets really good. 10 out of 10 would recommend listening to the Dilatov Pass episode.
The what one?
The Dilatov Pass.
Okay.
Okay, so it's this thing. Bearing in mind, I have not thoroughly researched the subject. I've just listened to the podcast 4 or 5 times. But it's this thing where a bunch of people went hiking through the Dilatov Pass, and they never came back. They all died up there of extremely mysterious circumstances. They had broken bones and internal bleeding, kind of similar to what you would see with a car crash. Okay. There had been no avalanche in the area, so no idea how they would have sustained those kind of injuries. 3 out of the 4 people they found were half naked or half dressed, they had run out of their tents, in a damn hurry. And they had been trying to climb a tree or something and then fell down. They found a chick whose tongue had been cut out, and because her stomach was filled with blood, they could figure out that her tongue had been cut out before she died. She was also missing her eyes. Oh, and then there was this thing where one of the guys had a secret camera that nobody knew about until they started digging up the bodies. But the camera was so water damaged they can't make out the film on it. At least that's what the government says. So, anyways, Dilatov Pass, extremely interesting. I want to know what's on that camera.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to subscribe to this podcast now, because it sounds like a radio show I used to listen to when I had to go to work super early in the morning, and I can't remember the radio show's name. It's it had a guy named Bill Norrie, I think. and he was on like the AM station. It's Coast to Coast AM, and it's on like your like talk radio stations, kind of in the morning, like from 2:00 in the morning until 5:00, and the guy talks to like UFOologists and conspiracy theorists and like all these crazy stories to the point where like there's some level of truth somewhere in there, but you know that they're like really pulling the wool over your eyes. That podcast sounds like something I'm going to have to add into my regular rotation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, you might love the 9/11 episodes. The Columbine episodes, very interesting for that same reason. They want the conspiracy theories out there, man. They always, on the podcast, they always talk about how they really like these crackpot conspiracy theories because the disinformation is what causes you to not take anybody seriously who might have real information.
Right.
So the podcast is really good. It's extremely thorough. They do a really good job of like, researching each angle of a subject as well. So they'll give you different conspiracy theories to back up a single incident, which is really interesting. It's really cool.
How did you find the podcast? Was it recommended?
It was. A friend of mine I was visiting here in Florida, not here in Florida, but down in Boca, which is in Florida. Anyways,
but it's really its own subsection of Florida.
I was visiting my friend Blue Eyes Dante, and she was like, hey, let's listen to this podcast while we're driving 40 minutes to delicious hot pot dinner. And we were like, yeah, let's do it. So she puts on Last Podcast on the Left, and she puts on an H.H. Holmes episode, and I think that was the Professional Uncle episode, which is hilarious. And after that, I was just like, I'm going to download every single one of these and listen to every single one of these.
That's funny. It's always great to have like those recommendations, and you know, you have those people that recommend things to you, and they're usually like after the fourth or fifth one where they've recommended something and it's just not good, you're like, okay, yeah,
yeah,
but then it's those people that when they recommend you something and it just blows you away, and it's like, thank you so much. It's
tell
amazing.
Tell me everything you consume now.
Yes. Like, I have a friend, she's spot on. Everything that she recommends is always something I end up liking. Like, whether it's a book series or music or movies or documentaries, stuff, anything. She's like, you need to really check this out. I think you'll like it. And 9 times out of 10, I've liked everything that she has sent over, and it's always a blessing.
Awesome.
So,
I mean, we could talk documentaries, too. I'm into documentaries.
Uh-oh. Well, let's, Last Podcast on the Left, I imagine you can subscribe on any of the major, like, podcast apps or iTunes.
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
I do it through iTunes, because this is an Apple household.
Well, I've got my computer over here that is not Apple, and my wife's computer is right next to me, and it's a big, giant Mac staring at me.
The Apple thing wasn't my decision. But I also don't care that much, so.
As long as it works, right?
As long as it works.
Whatever you want to do, as long as you can do whatever you want to do, then it shouldn't matter.
Yeah. Well, not whatever you want to do. They have laws against that.
Not when it comes to computers. At least I hope not.
I mean, you know, Subway. But anyways.
Yes. So, we talked about Invincible. We've talked about Last Podcast on the Left, which is now going to be something I'm going to subscribe to in about 30 minutes or so. And we talked about we touched on Runaways, so I want to talk about Runaways before I forget. I remember when Runaways came out, and it blew me away. And that's how old I am, because I was in college when it came out. So, when did you find the awesomeness that was Runaways?
Also in college.
Whoa,
but by then it had already been canceled.
Oh.
Like, I got there, like, right as it had been canceled. And
now, did you get there, that's like the third run of it, correct? They did like 3 seasons ish of it.
Yeah, I believe so.
Going back in time and then coming back from their time travel.
Honestly, I don't remember that well anymore. And I've only got the first couple of trades in it. Otherwise, I would just go look real fast.
Oh, okay.
But I do know, like, when I started reading it, I went and binge read everything that was available, got stuck on that really nasty cliffhanger at the end, went into my comic book store and was like, hey, yo, guys, what's up? When's the next one coming out? And they're like, oh, it's been canceled. And I was like, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah. I when they first did Runaways, and I think you might have come in, because you said you came in at the tail end, like, Runaways was just a contained, like, 12-issue run at originally, or 12 or 13, whatever they had done for that first run. And then there was, like, a talk about, like, were they going to bring it back? Were they not? But the numbers, like, for their sales were so good and their reception was so positive that they brought it back as an ongoing series at that time, which is really awesome.
That is really cool. I never knew that. That's very interesting.
So, who is your favorite Runaway?
Old Lace.
Old Lace.
The raptor.
Old Lace. So out of all the characters, you choose the dinosaur.
The dinosaur, of course. No, I like Caroline a lot, actually. I didn't want to, because I don't know. But I just ended up really liking her.
Okay. I liked her, too. I liked, they made it so you weren't really digging on her, especially in that first run, where, she's the one causing all the problems, and she's almost got, like, that death wish going on. And then she finds out that she's an alien! Surprise!
Yeah.
My favorite, it's old at this time. Oh.
Yeah. By the way, Vader is Luke's father, and
Jaws dies at the end.
Right?
Oh my goodness. My favorite character of the Runaways is Molly. I love Molly, yeah. And then my second one is Gert. I love Gert.
Yeah, that's fair. She was really cool. I like Chase a lot, too. I was very upset over Chase's ending there.
Yeah.
But I think what originally attracted me to it was number one, nobody really told me anything about it when I started reading it. They were just like, hey, you're reading a lot of comic books now. You should check out this one called The Runaways. It's about, the children of supervillains. I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. And then it just really didn't go the way I was expecting it to.
Right.
So, and then there was still more to read, and I was like, I'm already really invested in this story, so yeah, I want to know more. Plus, I think part of it really reminded me of Batman Beyond in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was in, I want to say, like, middle school and stuff like that when Batman Beyond was coming out. Prime age for that cartoon. Was obsessed with that cartoon. So anything that kind of has that same feel, I'm really into. I really liked Young Justice for the same reason. It just kind of reminded me of Batman Beyond, especially with the art style a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I was very upset when Young Justice went away, too.
Well, I think Young Justice is coming back now on Netflix.
There have always been rumors about it, but, I mean, if anybody can send me something substantial that says it's coming back, I will, like, bow down and worship. Young Justice
is returning for season 3. They have begun production of it as of November.
Oh my god, yes! Ah.
So, there you go. It is coming back.
So happy! Dreams come true! Yeah, I love Young Justice. That one was really good.
That's one of those DC animated shows that I have not watched, but I know it's on Netflix.
Okay.
At least I think.
Turn off the podcast. Turn on Netflix. Go watch.
Let me see here. I'm pretty sure I have it on my list of things to watch. Let me type it in right now. Young Justice is right there. Yeah, they've got both seasons.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll have
it's
to
really
check
good.
it out.
It's very good. I didn't like it at first just because I am not a fan of Miss Martian and Superboy as like an item. They ended up winning me over in the long run, though. So
Okay.
like,
See, I'm used to like the Teen Titans cartoon as far as like DC stuff goes. And then of course like the X-Men animated series, the Batman animated series, Batman Beyond. Like, those were my stuff growing up, or at least in college time or high school time. And then I missed out on most stuff except for, like, Teen Titans. I watched that, but I never got into, like, Young Justice or the Justice League ones that were going on.
Oh, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited were really good. Static Shock was the bomb.com. Love Static Shock. And I also kind of liked X-Men Evolution.
I like
late
that.
'90s
Yep.
cartoon.
Oh yeah.
I think it was late '90s. I don't know, something like.
It's somewhere around there. I think it's late '90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, my perception of time is terrible.
Every year you get older, the more you forget.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So we were going to talk about Disney because we live in Central Florida, and you say that you're a big Disney nerd.
Yes.
And there is somebody on your thing that you really like, and I'm going to pull that up right here and say her name is Princess Tiana is the Bay.
Yeah. She is the best princess.
Okay.
Full stop. Tiana's the best princess.
Defend yourself.
Defend myself? Because I really identify with her. She's all about, hard work and everything. Like, one of her major mantras is fairy tales can happen, but you got to make them come true. I really like that. Plus, like, she likes food and I like food, and she likes green and I like green. Which is stupid reasons, but very valid when you were 5 years old, so I don't see why they can't be valid now. But yeah, I went to the midnight showing of Princess and the Frog when it first came out because I was just so excited to see another 2D princess princess film.
Right.
I was really sick of the 3D trend at the time because while we had Tangled, we hadn't yet had I don't think we had Brave yet. We definitely hadn't had Frozen or Moana or anything like that, and they really have fixed up a lot of the things that were bothering me about CGI, but that's not important. I went to Princess and the Frog at midnight, and the first time I watched it, I'm like, I don't like any of these songs. I don't like a single one, and the whole reason I like Disney movies is because I like the songs.
Right.
But I went back and watched it the next day, apparently when I was better rested and less cranky, because I was like, this is great! This is the best music I've ever heard! Yay, New Orleans! So, I don't know what it was about that movie where the first time I just thought the music was awful, and the second time I was like, yes, Friends on the other side!
That's hilarious.
It is, she is my favorite princess now. Like, every time I've met her at Disney World, she's just been perfect. I've never, ever had anything less than a stellar Tiana.
A stellar Tiana interaction.
Yes.
Yeah, for the one thing that at Disney parks is always gets to me, and I've talked to like Disney cosplayers and stuff, and sometimes you get like the hit or miss Disney face actors or face characters, and Tiana's always been excellent, and not only is she excellent, like she's really good like interacting, and like she made it to where my kids were like, can we go to Tiana's restaurant for dinner and for hot chocolate? And I was like, no, Tiana's restaurant's not here, guys. Like, there's no Tiana's restaurant at Disney World. And they're like, what? But she said that we could come and eat at her restaurant. I was like, yeah, but it's not here.
I did hear rumors at one time that they were going to put in a Tiana's place, but I don't know if that's actually true or not. I would love for it to be true, though.
It would, of all the things that they could theme somewhere, that would really fit in at some park. I'm not sure what park you would put it at, but I feel like it could definitely work somewhere.
I almost feel like I want to stick it in over at Hollywood Studios just because of that 1920s flair it has. I feel like it would fit in really cute, especially with the the Chinese theater and stuff.
Yeah, it would work there. I mean, especially now that they've bulldozed, half of the park to oblivion for Star Wars Land and Toy Story Land.
Yeah, but we're getting a Pizza Planet.
Yes, we are. And I think they opened up what is it? Pizza Rizzo with the Muppet. In that Muppet area, they opened up a pizza place over there, too.
Yes, I have smelled that. Haven't necessarily heard about it, but I have smelled the pizza, and then wanted the pizza, and then couldn't find the pizza. Because this was like when they first put up a bunch of barricades for construction to start getting the place cleared out and get ready for Star Wars Land and Toy Story Land. So I was completely lost.
yeah, it is tough over there. Last time we had passes, we went to see Moana.
You went to where?
They have Moana at Disney Studios.
Oh, yes.
As a meet and greet. So we went to go see her, and then saw Chewbacca and Kylo Ren, and then we headed out. Because there's not much to do over there once you've done everything that's been there already.
That's true. I mean, I still have yet to see the Beauty and the Beast stage show, and I've heard relatively good things about the Star Wars stage show, but I haven't watched that yet either.
Mm-hmm.
I did finally get to go see Chewie, though, which was pretty much the highlight of my life. Chewbacca is my favorite Star Wars character.
Yay!
Yeah, and I got to make Wookiee noises at him, which was really gratifying. Oh. But, yeah, we did the same thing a couple of weeks ago. We went and saw Moana, and we saw Chewie. We did not stop to see Kylo Ren, though.
Aw, he's probably sad. He's crying inside of his, helmet.
Poor space baby.
So, you go by the name online of Blue Shoes Cosplay.
That is me.
How did you get into cosplay?
A lot of my friends, well, okay, so I went from public high school where I was in all AP classes, and pretty much all of my friends went out of state for college. But I went to the local community college and didn't know anybody there except for, like, one dude I had gone to high school with. And this dude happened to be hanging out with all these other cool kids. So I'm like, these are going to be my friends now. All these other cool kids were going to conventions and stuff, and I had never even heard of this shenanigans before. And they just kept talking about, like, how much fun it was at this weekend or that weekend and A-Con and OniCon and whatever else was going on. Mm-hmm. And they had done this cosplay and that cosplay and blah, 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 blah. And around that same time, Halloween was coming up. The Arkham Asylum game had just come out, and I was really irritated with Harley Quinn's costume in that because I was kind of a Harley Quinn snob at the time.
Okay.
Not too ashamed to admit it. Kind of a Harley Quinn snob at the time. And I was like, she's a doctor, not a nurse. I can't believe they just put her in a slutty nurse's outfit. Rabble, rabble, rabble. I'm going to make my own costume. So I went and entirely hand-stitched with needle and thread a Harley Quinn jumpsuit minus the arms because I wanted it to look like the first costume she would have thrown together to break the Joker out.
Okay.
So I took a lab coat and I slashed it up and put a bunch of blood on it and stuff and carried an oversized needle with me and had a name tag that said Dr. Quinzel on it and stuff like that. And that was a lot of fun.
Because some people forget that, she's actually a doctor.
Yeah, but, I mean, I was watching the animated series, like, when Harley Quinn was conceived, so to speak. So I was really, like, I don't know, protective of the character, I guess, is one way to put it. That's the thing that comes up in the nerd community a lot. We end up being protective over our fandoms. Mm-hmm. But anyways, after that, I finally decided to take the plunge and go to a convention. So I, instead of hand-stitching, hand-glued together a Power Girl leotard because Power Girl is my favorite character in the world, and I wanted to be her.
Okay. So, and there you go. You got started.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And now you've expanded and become Blue Shoes Cosplay.
That is I.
Now, when you are picking out cosplays to do you pick them out based on the characters that you like, the costumes that they wear, or a mixture of both?
Yes. So I I try to really only stick to characters I like, because at some point I'm going to take photos, so I want to be in character for those photos and stuff like that. But if there's a really compelling design, I don't mind if it's a character I don't like or really don't know too much about, because I really enjoy the challenge of having to create something I've never tried making before. So, for example, my partner in crime, Ashley Kaylee, does Arya, I think, for Mass Effect. I don't actually know because I don't play the Mass Effect games, but I actually have a Matriarch Benezia costume because I'm like, I want to figure out how to make that particular costume. And I already have a ton of blue body paint from when I did Ayla Sakura, so yeah, let's go ahead and make this thing. And then we can carry Ashley's things around for her while people are taking her picture.
Okay. So you do characters that you're familiar with, or you do the characters, like you really just do whatever you want to do at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It is really more about the challenge now more than anything else. Like, there are some characters I like that I just won't cosplay because I feel like the costume's too simple and I can't do enough with it for it to be worth the challenge. But, you know, Ashley and I were always trying to work on what's the next really big, stupid, impressive thing that we can do. And we decided our next big, stupid, impressive thing is going to be a Padme Amidala army for Star Wars Celebration.
Awesome.
We've got a huge group of girls together who are all going to dress up in different Padme costumes.
That's going to be awesome.
And she's doing the one from episode 1, the big red dress with the huge headpiece and stuff, so she hates her life. And then after that, our next partner cosplay is going to be the Grinch and Cindy Lou Who.
Awesome.
So we're going to be making full facial prosthetics for her. We have to make a fursuit for her and stuff. We have to make new facial prosthetics for me, and I have to style a wig and stuff. And I'm going to make some ostentatious kind of Lolita-esque Christmassy costume for my Cindy Lou Who, and it's going to be fun. I really hope.
So you not only do, like, the actual, like, costume work, like, you're doing, like, prosthetics and hair and everything.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we went to Anime EY this last fall with our Dr. Doppler and Captain Amelia costumes from Treasure Planet.
Okay.
And those are costumes where I had made a nose prosthetic for it. Well, she sculpted it, and then I cast it. We had made ear prosthetics for both of us. She had taken her wig, which was like 60 inches long, really, really long hair. She cut it down to a bob and then harvested all those trimmings in order to make brand new wefts that she then sewed into the wig to make it thicker. On my wig, I ripped it apart and completely restyled it so that it would have a receding hairline, and I had to wear a bald cap with it and stuff. So, and that's just our heads. That's not to talk about like the props we made or the costumes that we had to draft or anything like that. So, we really like to go all in.
Awesome. That's the way to do it, as long as you can work it out.
Yeah, precisely. And we happened to get Best in Show for those costumes, so it was really worth the effort.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So, let's see here. You are an amazing, awesome person. And before we wrap this up, there's something that you mentioned before we started recording, and that is that you play Dungeons & Dragons.
I do.
How did you get into Dungeons & Dragons?
It's another one of those things where all my Texas friends were like, oh, we were playing this D&D campaign or that D&D campaign last night. And it sounded like fun. And I was like, invite me. But by then I lived in Florida. And you can kind of Skype D&D, but it's not terribly convenient.
Or fun.
Yeah,
it's not as fun as sitting around the table, because I've tried, and
it's really not.
Here I am alone in my bedroom, and there's everyone having fun at the table.
Except for me.
And, there's a lag, or they can't hear me, or I can't hear them, and I can't see what's going on, and, it really makes it hard.
Yeah, it's not fun. But anyways, one of my friends, Cassie, had come up to visit, and we just did, like, a one-night, one-off campaign with her and Ashley and my husband and I think like one other person. And that was a lot of fun. And then I just started sneaking my way into D&D campaigns with my other group of friends. So to speak. We've got 3 active games going on right now, and then one that Ashley's planning, and a 4th one, or another one planned after that, I think. But the one we're most excited about right now is actually being run by 2 DMs. So they're working in tandem, which is really convenient because we're often having to split into 2 separate groups for our quests. And that one is Percy Jackson based.
What? I love Percy Jackson.
Yes. And it's really great because we went extended universe with it, so we're not even all Greek pantheon.
Okay.
Ashley plays a Greek pantheon person, but my character actually has a Celtic patron.
Awesome.
So it's super fun and super interesting, and our DMs are doing really cool things, like if you come dressed as your character, you can get a, what's it called? Advantage.
Okay.
You can get an advantage roll for the day or something like that. It's been really fun. I have already collected myself a little pet in this game because my character can speak to animals, and she found a subway rat, and that subway rat is her friend now.
That's awesome.
It's really, really fun. It's a huge group, though. There's probably like 7 or 8 of us when all is said and done, so it's a really good thing we have 2 DMs.
Right, yeah, especially for a game like D&D. Once you get to a certain point, it gets really wieldy, or like it gets hard to manage at times.
Does. There's too many people having to weigh in on situations. It's easier when you can just be like, oh no, that group fell off the cliff.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go with this guy now.
That's awesome. Now, do you have like for a standard or traditional game, is there like a favorite race or class that you like to play better than others?
For some reason, no matter what I do, I usually end up playing the thief.
Okay. And
I don't even necessarily like playing that role in D&D campaigns because I feel really useless. It's just those are the characters I happen to write.
Okay.
And the ones I happen to find interesting. For example, one of the other campaigns we're running, I wanted her to be a treasure hunter, but she ended up being like basically another thief. And she's a bird person. So she's really attracted to shiny things. So I'm like, I give up. She's another thief. And then for the Percy Jackson campaign that we're running right now, I'm like, I'm going to build a tank. And then I accidentally built another thief. The character has things like, well, she's probably closer to a druid because she can grow plants and she can talk to animals. But the main trick she's been using is tree teleportation to sneak up on people and steal things from them. So, like, I give up. I'm perma thief at this point. Ashley is pretty much always our paladin, which is good because I usually get us in trouble and then she has to get us out of it.
Oh man, we had one paladin that was in our game, and our entire group like decided we're leaving you here because you are too much trouble. Because they kept, like, the person that was playing the paladin was always like, you know, because they have to be lawful good and they have to do what's right, and we're like, we're not doing that. So, and you keep threatening us, we're leaving you. And we left him, and we kind of forced him to make a new character at that point, because we were like, there's one person in the group that's like, if you show back up, we're killing you.
Oh my god. There's a couple of characters I would have liked to have done that with in a few campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, there's always one at least.
My husband always plays a drunken dwarven brawler, and he always gets us into trouble because his response to everything is punch it.
Right.
So I was playing yet another thief character, and I had a pet cow, and we're all on a ship together. Don't know why, can't remember, but AJ, my husband, his action was he wanted to intimidate the cow. And he nat 20'd against my cow, and my cow never gave milk again.
I need fresh milk for that voyage.
Right? Oh, it's terrible. He also punched a hole into our boat, which was another problem.
Wonderful.
Yep.
That's what you want to do on a boat.
Yep. That is exactly what you want to do with it. But I love D&D because you just end up with all these really great funny moments that when you try to explain them to someone else are just, nope, they're not funny anymore.
Yeah.
You start laughing harder and they just start looking at you stranger.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've been there and done that many times.
But yeah.
Well, for those people who have listened to this podcast and are interested in following you, whether it be for your cosplay or for anything else for that matter, where can people find you?
Mostly on Facebook and Instagram as Blue Shoes Cosplay.
Okay.
So that's blue like color, shoes like the stuff you put on your feet, and then cosplay. I have a Tumblr that hasn't been used in well over a year, but there are some useful like tutorials on there if you're really bored. And then I use Pinterest if you're ever just curious about what kind of artwork I like to pull my ideas. You can follow me there too.
Okay.
I guess.
Awesome. Well, I'll have it on the show notes as well as our Facebook page, so that way people can just click on it and follow you. And there's more that I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to have to just ask you back again in a future episode because we've got more stuff to talk about.
Hey, I'll do it. You just let me know when.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.